So good evening everyone again and welcome. And we are here tonight together for an hour and 10 minutes to express our gratitude for the life of Swami Kriyananda. And gratitude is something that we need to cultivate because it's something, when something wonderful happens on earth, especially when something divine happens, and we cultivate gratitude toward it, we receive much more because we are more aware of what is happening. We want to be more aware of what is being given to us, what has been given to us. So, but there's a problem here because every time when to Swami Kriyananda people would say, "Thank you, you've done this, how beautiful," he would say, "If I've done it, it's not good." No, he said, "No. If what happened was bad, then it was me. If it was good, then it was done by God." So then, we need to ask ourselves: do we want to thank Swami if God did it, if God made it? So we need to understand the relation between guru and disciple is eternal. It is not one incarnation. It is very important to understand this because it helps us to understand why it is not important that the guru be necessarily in the body. In the eternal relationship between a guru and disciple, sometimes the guru is born and the disciple remains tranquilly, calmly in the astral world, blessed and calm. And then another time, maybe the disciple is born and the guru remains in the astral world, just blessed and calm. And some other times they are born in the same era, in the same moment. And so how did it go with Master and with Swami Kriyananda? I don't want to go back into other incarnations, which would be very fascinating, but how did it go for them in this life? Yogananda was born before, a lot before, maybe something like 25 years before, maybe even more. And then Swami Kriyananda came to him at the end of the Master's life. And there is a need in the air on our planet to reevaluate the spirituality. Spirituality that for us in this new era works. We don't need anymore to just believe what an authority tells us. What we need is a spirituality that can resist, that can hold on, even that can also coexist together with modern science. Because it is a spirituality that is based on inner experience, just like science is based on experiment, on outer experience. And to be able to bring or introduce and help people, help many souls that are incarnating on the world in this period, They need examples, they need a special dispensation. As Yogananda said, he said that his work is a special dispensation. It doesn't need an institution, doesn't need a new religion. It's simply there's a need of a living example, of a person that is able to welcome and receive those teachings, and in that moment to live those teachings so fully, with his whole heart, with his whole will, with his whole mind, and with all his strength. And it is that Swami Kerananda did. He went to Master almost with a desire not to create a church, but with a desire to create satsang, to gather souls, to bring them together, to share with them joy and also pain when there were pain, but especially to share with them the real joy of spiritual growth. And this is also the first memory that I have of Swami when I met him at Como, Lake Como, in 1985. This was this was still a very little thing in Europe. But I loved him even before I met him, which is, for me, was another proof that the physical relationship with the master, with the teacher, with the guru is important, but it is not fundamental. And why did I love him already before? Because I had read, after my search, someone gave me as a gift the autobiography of a yogi. And it was not something that I could really absorb or accept immediately. I knew that it was something fundamental for my life. There was something very important for my life. But also I had to digest it. I had to work on it. And this is something I'm still doing in some way. Every year when I reread it, I discover new things. And I think that it will always be like that up until my last breath. But then I was very young. And together with that book, I was given small audio tapes, cassette tapes, and I lived in this small student room in Amsterdam. And I would read the autobiography, which I think once even made me get fever, because there was a very strong reaction inside. But I was listening to these tapes, which were the first discourses by Swami Kirananda, and those already had the atmosphere of Ananda Village. And at the beginning, you could really hear, the birds as he was talking in the background. And another thing that was funny is that I used a recorder of my mother, and the tape was actually going a little bit too fast. So the first time I met Swami, I actually discovered that his voice was much lower than I thought it was, and I heard it before. But what really struck me about him, and I remember that at a certain point, really, someone who was very important to me gave me the autobiography yogi and the many audio tapes of Swami, and also the 14 lessons that now have become the book Raja Yoga. And I worked in a hotel during the night as the guard, and the only thing I had to do, I had to go 3 times during the night up and down all the different levels of the hotel to see that everything was okay. And so I had these lessons, Raja Yoga lessons, which were put together into a sort of handbook. And the dedication really struck me, even though it was very simple now, but it really struck me because it said, I offer these lessons at the feet of my Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda. And in some way I felt that whatever I would study the books that I would read of this disciple, of this man, I knew I could trust completely, because he had chosen not to write and not to speak from his own ego, but to offer this ego, this life, to the Master. And so he would put his life was dedicated to offering himself up and to remain always in tune with his Guru. And in some way, this awareness, this enormous enthusiasm that was there, this enormous willingness to share this joy, already awakened deep love within me. And so this was a love that wasn't so much personal for a person, but for what he was doing with his life. And the result of that humanity that was so, how to say, so full of enthusiasm, light, simple. Then when I met him and when I had the confirmation of all of that, all of those things I felt, because what I saw was a man who tried to share joy. In the first lessons that he gave in the beginning, he spoke in the beginning a lot with his intellect. It was a brilliant, a very deep intellect he had, and very subtle, always rooted in his heart. But it was still the intellect. And in Italy, something changed. And I had met him here in Italy. There was Nitai, there was other Americans, a small group. But what he was doing was simply gather and to welcome a family. That was the feeling. And certainly without a strong awareness that he couldn't permit himself to feel embarrassed or timid, there was a great dignity. And he really trusted in the leadership that was given to him, because it was given to him, because it was not his. So he would apply it, but at the same time he was simple. He was able to see you, to laugh with you, and also to encourage you. I was a very timid boy, you could say, young man. And I remember I was looking at him, and at a certain point we were in this restaurant, and he saw that I was looking at him, and he just straightened his spine, and around him this great aura of dignity just was born. He was almost, I felt he was saying, this is what you need, dignity. And then later, we go fast forward, I had the great honor to be able to serve in the center, Ananda Center in Rome. And there was a seed, a Rudraksha seed. Jesus said, just a few days before his death, demise, he said, the seed has to die so that the plant can grow. And so in this case, Swami wasn't dead, he didn't die, but he was absent physically. And I would go to this center in Rome. I would even, go half an hour extra by car just to be there 10 minutes or half an hour of meditation with this Rudraksha seed in my hand that belonged to him, to feel his closeness inwardly. And many years later, when he already was out of his body, I was in Ananda Dallas, there's a beautiful center there in Texas. And I was serving there, and when I arrived, I knew I had to be there for a month, and they created a calendar for me that was full. And I remember at a certain point I was meditating together with some friends in their house, and I was asking myself, after 2 or 3 weeks, everything was fine, everything was flowing, and I was looking at the photo of Swami, and I was asking myself, but why don't you come to me in a vision? Why don't you let yourself be seen? And then from deep inside there was a voice that came out. It said, I already showed myself through all your actions. And this for me was a very important message that is valid for all of us. If we limit ourselves to say, thank you, Swami, thank you, this is beautiful, thank you, it's not enough. We have to try every day to attune ourselves with the ray, with the same ray with which he himself was in tune. And that will give us the strength that he also received to be able to be useful and help our brothers and sisters of humanity to bring spirituality that can really work today, that can harmonize this humanity again, both among us and with the earth and with science and with all other forms of human growth and progress. So we want to really remember, in order for the plant to grow, the seed must die. So Swami's body died, but the plant has to grow. And that is only possible if we don't limit ourselves to thanking him, but we really make the effort, we put ourselves in tune and then act and try and be what he was. So tonight we have other people who will share. Now we have Kirtani who will speak in English, then Nadia will speak in Italian, and there will be a series of testimonies afterwards that we will keep as a surprise. So I will like to ask Kirtani to come after the music. First there is there's an excerpt of the last. So, excuse me, so we will listen first to a brief excerpt from the last discourse by Swami that was here in the Temple of Light, his last public discourse in 2013.
Però, se Dio lo vuole, io sono contento di continuare questa vita. E soprattutto perché
ascolteremo, scusatemi, ascolteremo adesso un breve passo dall'ultimo discorso di Swami qui nel Tempio della Luce a Pasqua del 2013.
La mia vita è stata dedicata a servire Dio e mio Guru e aiutare gli altri a conoscere chi siete voi. Voi non siete persone peccatori, non lo siete. Sì, potete peccare, però l'uomo è un figlio di Dio. E Yogananda ha detto che un santo è un peccatore che non si è mai dato per vinto. E questo dovete, anche se avete peccato molte volte, voi siete il suo figlio. E alla fine avete soltanto una missione, di trovare Dio e rimergere in Lui. Una cosa voglio dire, ho letto qualche libri di persone che sono andate nell'altro mondo per temporaneamente. E alcuni sono andati all'interno, poi tornato, e lì hanno visto purtroppo molti giovani. Io penso il perché soprattutto per la musica che amano. Questa musica è diabolica, con un'enfasi sull'ego, sul forte ritmo. Dice io. Uno deve, la scopo principale della vita spirituale è abbandonare questo ego e capire che
I want your spiritual well-being. My life has been dedicated to serving God and my Guru, and to help others to know who you are. You're not people, you're not sinners, you're not that. Yes, you can sin, but man is a son of God. Yogananda said that a saint is a sinner who never gave up. And this you have to understand. Even if you have sinned many times, you are his children. And in the end, you have only one mission: to find God and to re-immerse yourself in Him, to become one with Him. I want to tell you one thing. I read some books of people who went on the other side, in the other world, temporarily. And some went to hell and then they came back. And there they saw, unfortunately, many young people. And I think this is because, above all, because of the music that they listen to, that they love. This music is diabolic, with the emphasis on the ego, on a very strong rhythm, always saying I. The principal part of the spiritual life is to abandon, let go of the ego, and to understand that we are not this ego. We are children of the infinite. That is very important. So this Easter, and I want to wish all of you a happy Easter, I want you to understand that it is a symbol, as Haja said minutes ago, it is a symbol of resurrection for each one. We have this need to awaken from evil, from ignorance that is within us. Once Yogananda went to a revivalist meeting. Come lo dici in italiano? Sì. How do you say this in Italian? So anyway, it was a fundamentalist Christian meeting. And this preacher said, "You're all sinners, get down on your knees." And Yogananda said, "I was the only person that was left standing, because I would not accept that I'm a sinner. And you have to do the same. You have to say, I'm not a sinner, even if I sin." He said, even if I fish, because the word for fish and sin is similar in Italian. He said, it's very nice to come to my discourses because I make so many mistakes. You're not fish. Even if you make a mistake many times, within you're children of God.
Swamiji ha detto una cosa in English. Swamiji said many things in this talk. One of them was that, that there is only really one thing that we are here to do, and that is to find God. Yogananda actually told Swamiji that he would find God at the end of his life. And this period of time that we are celebrating now that time had come. And Swamiji never counted on having freedom at the end of his life if he just sat back and let life happen. He lived every moment so that he would never become relaxed around the fact that Master had said he would find God at the end of his life. The message that he gave at this Easter time, a week before he was to leave his body, was one of total detachment. He talked about not really being that interested in anything that this life on the physical plane could give him. And he was eager to finish this life and to go to God. So this last week before he left his body, he was here in Italy. He was very quiet, unusually silent. Much of his time was spent in silence and meditation. He didn't do the things that he normally did with those of us that were here and spent time with him. He didn't invite people over for tea. He had been quite reclusive and not seeing people very much. So it was surprising to us when in that last week he decided that he was going to town, and he ended up taking 4 of us with him to town, and he went to the places where he had developed a friendship with people who own different kinds of stores. He went to the fruit and vegetable place, and he went to the place where he bought his Persian carpets. He went to the restaurant where he especially liked to go for lunch when we went to town. In each of those situations, he was clearly connecting with these people, as we found out later, for the last time. And he was not effusive, not talking a lot, but he was so clearly touching them with his energy and with his love. In that same last week, Shivani came to Swamiji with the final version of Finding Happiness, the movie that Swamiji had so wanted to see created. And we all watched it in his downstairs TV room. And we were all weeping at the end, so moved by this story of Swamiji, who his whole life, as Darshan was talking about, was dedicated to doing what his guru wanted him to do, needed him to do. And so the movie was so clearly an expression of this, and at the end of the movie, he said something along the lines of, "I feel that I have accomplished all that I came here to do, and that this film shows that. I know that Master is very pleased." That was a couple of days before the Saturday that Swamiji finally did invite a group of us to tea, and it was the group that normally would come. And tea was a time to relax together. He might have something for us to read that he had written. He was always open about what was happening, and this was his opportunity to share that with us. This time, it was still very informal, relaxed, but it was different. Swamiji was not very talkative, but he connected with each person there with his eyes and with his energy, his words, and his love. And had we been a little more intuitive or more sensitive, we could have known that this was the last time that he would connect in his body with each one of us. The next day, and this part I have to talk about not from my experience because I wasn't there for the beginning, but those who were there, Sergio and Narayani, Miriam and Jaidara, talked about what happened that morning. Usually Swamiji would be up early, he and Narayani would meditate together, and Miriam would come, she was his nurse, and she would take care of the things that needed to happen to check Swami's blood sugar and various things. But this morning was different. When Narayani came up, Swamiji was in bed sleeping, so she went back downstairs. When Miriam arrived, Swami was still sleeping, and so she went downstairs to talk with Narayani, and then they heard him moving around upstairs. So they came up, and he was sitting at the table where breakfast would happen in a short time. And still, it was obvious that something was very different. When Miriam asked Swami, "How are you this morning?" he didn't really respond, he just shrugged. When she realized that something was really different, she asked him, "Swamiji, can I take your blood sugar?" And he said, "Anything." That was the last word that Swami spoke. And it was so typically Swami in terms of anything that his guru wanted him to do, anything Divine Mother wanted him to do, he would do. And with that last word, Miriam took his blood sugars were fine, and she started to leave. And then Narayani noticed that Swami was really, something strange was happening. And so she called Miriam back, and in that moment, Swami went into kind of a convulsion and exhaled, and he didn't breathe again. And so they were, of course, were very concerned, and they wanted to chant Om in his ear to try to bring him back. They brought Sergio up from downstairs so that he could chant Om, because Miriam was too emotionally touched to be able to chant Om in an efficacious way. And they said, "Go and get Kirtani and Anand." So at this point, we were here in this temple meditating, and we heard sandals going clap, 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 clap against the sidewalk out here as someone was running toward the temple. And those of you who have been here, you know that never happens. Nobody is ever running in that kind of way towards the temple. So hearing that, I looked and saw it was Jaidara, and I got up and headed for the door, and I motioned Anand to come. And also, at that time, then Jaidara said, "Something is wrong with Swamiji. He's not well. You need to come right away." And I asked Saraswati, who is our resident nurse, to join us. So we got there as quickly as we could. At that point, they had moved Swamiji from the dining room table into the bedroom, and he was lying on the bed, and he was struggling with breaths. It was very ragged inhalation, and then exhalation, and then he didn't breathe for a long time between breaths. And he maybe had 2 or 3 breaths like that, and someone mentioned, "We need to call Jyotishan Devi." And so I went out immediately. I called Jyotishan Devi. I called Lakshman, because he was Swami's secretary and knew how to get hold of everybody quickly, just to ask everybody, pray, send light, send energy. Swamiji may be leaving his body. In that time that I called, Swamiji took his last breath. And at that moment, Anand said, "I think he's gone." And at that point, we all gathered around the bed. Swamiji was not breathing any longer. And we chanted Om, Om, Om for quite a while, just knowing that it would be an accompaniment for Swami's transition. The people talked afterward about what they felt in that moment where Swami left his body. And most of those were on the lines of, there was such incredible joy, and I could feel his bliss in that moment. And for me, it was feeling and perceiving that Swamiji, that he was out of the limitation of the body. He was expanding his consciousness in that joy, in that bliss. It is something that was very perceivable. All of us felt that Swamiji was free, that he was free, one, of this body that was giving him such difficulties, and he was free from all the limitations that come with having a physical body, and that he was truly soaring and going into the light. At that time, more people were coming because, of course, the word went out, and so people were coming to say goodbye to Swamiji. He was laying on his bed. We, at one point, between times, we washed his body and dressed him in his Nayaswami blue robes. And this was not an experience that any of us really had before. But we realized we needed to try to bring Swami's body here to the temple so that everyone who was here would have a chance to say goodbye to him. And so he was, after he was bathed and dressed, we put him on one of the picnic tables with a nice cloth on it and some flowers. And the guys, Narya and Anand and others that were present, Jayadev, I think, was there, and Shurjo and Chaidara, they picked up the table and they put it into the back of our car, which it's true is a station wagon, but it wasn't really long enough to hold the whole table. So as we were slowly moving out of the driveway at our house, Narya and Jayadev and maybe Shurja was in there too. They were holding on to, and someday you probably have shared already what you were feeling in that moment from Swamiji. Perhaps he was laughing and realizing that they were trying to hold him on the table so that he wouldn't slide out the back of the car. And so we slowly progressed and came all the way to the temple. And he was brought in and he was placed right here. So Swamiji's body was here for many days because it was not, it wasn't possible to take care of his, of all of the things that needed to happen once someone leaves the body in a quick way. And so we came, it was a Sunday. I believe our Sunday service ended up being an explanation of what had happened. And we did for him the astral ascension ceremony. It was clear that he wasn't going to be, he was not going to be cremated, and his body was going to go to America, but that couldn't happen right away. And so people were asking, should we come? And we said, yes, come, so that you can be here and connect with Swamiji in this moment. And so for the next couple of days, people were arriving, and when everyone was there, Swamiji was here in a casket at that point. And Laura did this beautiful thing, which was to provide an infinite number of rose petals so that people, and there were hundreds of people. This temple was full, it was over full. There were people outside, and people wanted to come and touch and bless Swamiji and receive his last blessing from this point on the altar. And so while we were chanting, while we were praying, while we were meditating, every single person had the opportunity to come up to Swami's body and to touch him, to bless him for his transition, to receive his blessing, and to leave rose petals around and on his body. And you will see there are photographs of this, and it was very, very beautiful. The rest of the time before Swamiji's body was embalmed and the casket was closed, and at the moment where he was taken out of the temple and put into a hearse to go to the airport, with a lot of details involved, there was again a huge crowd here that was here to say goodbye. The important thing to realize is that it wasn't goodbye, because so many people talked about how they felt Swamiji present, blessing them, helping them, guiding them, and in so many ways touching their lives very concretely after he left his body. And to all of us, it seemed that he was basically saying, now that I'm not limited by that weak, old physical body, I can do so much more for you. Ask me. And so this is a message for each one of us, that we also have the opportunity to ask for Swami's guidance, to ask for his blessing, to tune into what he has to share with us about, as Darshan was talking about the life of discipleship. And I want to end with quoting a few words from, one is from the Nayaswami vow, and this is at the very end, and this appears in Swami's Moksha Mandir in the Ananda community where his body now is. And it says, I am free in thy joy and will rejoice forever in thy blissful presence, which is what we feel is what Swamiji is really experiencing now. And the other is a quote from one of the last songs that Swamiji wrote. Yes, it's she, the Divine Mother. Again, he's talking about the relationship with the Divine Mother. And at the very end, he says, talking about her love, love more ancient, bliss eternal, may our hearts soon be merged in thee. And this is what Swami wanted for all of us. When he said that he was ready to go, he said, my one desire would be to be able to take all of you with me. And in a way, he is still continuing to do that if we are attuned to the life of discipleship that he lived and that he freed himself through.
The green summer fade and winter draw near. My Lord, in your presence I live without fear. tempest, through snows, through turbulent tide. The touch of your hand is my strength and my guide. I ask for no riches that death can destroy. I crave only thee, your love and your joy. I ask for no riches that death can destroy. I crave only thee, your love and your joy. The dancers will pass, the singing must end. I welcome the darkness with you for my friend. The green summer fade and we
After hearing Kirtani's words, I would like to add a personal experience. Lived in that moment where Swamiji was, when Swamiji's body was lying on the bed in his room. There were maybe 5 or 6 of us in that room just sobbing and crying. You could say a heart that was happy for Swami because he had reached his goal in life and he was free in God. But in that moment, in that room, it weren't just 6 of us. The room was full, absolutely full of angelic beings. You could perceive this choir of astral beings that came to welcome Swami in the higher realms. You could really perceive them. You could perceive Swami's glorious life, that in a sense was finished because his body was gone, but it was only the beginning of a long journey that he was doing through all of us in every moment. And there were no words to say in that moment. We could only attune ourselves with that angel whose name was and whose name is Swami Kriyananda, who gave an example to each one of us of how to be a disciple. Swami touched all of us. And I would like to tell you the first time that I understood that my life would never be the same. When I met Swami about 32 years ago, I did not have a personal contact when you look into someone's eyes and that gaze transmits. So I didn't have a personal contact, but I just had this gaze and so much passed through that gaze. And one day I had the opportunity to be close to him and we just exchanged some words. And I don't remember the words, but I remember his gaze, I remember his eyes. And they entered into me. And these eyes put something in motion, an inner turbulence, inner change that started from the heart and went to the brain, to the eyes, to all of the senses. When Swami gazes at you, when he looks at you, his gaze penetrates. He welcomes you. He opens the door of his heart and he welcomes you inside. And in that moment, I couldn't keep my eyes fixed on his eyes. There was just too much depth, too much strength, too much magnetism, too much energy. And I would look to the side. I was not used to this, to that strength. And then as soon as Swami turned around and gave his attention to other people, I just burst into tears. And I couldn't be there anymore. I went to my car and I started driving back to Venice. After only a few days, actually not even days, just a few hours, I came back and I met Swami again. And Swami said, "Where were you? I didn't see you for a while." It seems it was a few days. And he said, "Swami, to tell you the truth, I just couldn't stand being here anymore. After your gaze, I started to cry and I had to run away." And Swami, with this big smile, says, "That happens when old friends meet again." In that moment, my heart opened. I knew a little bit about reincarnation, but there I understood that I knew him. I felt it from the inside, but I needed this confirmation. And this confirmation is the most precious thing that I received from Swami, because I knew that in that very moment I knew that my life would never be the same. What changed? Everything. Slowly, as I attuned myself to Swami, I also attuned myself with Yogananda. And you don't have to do many projects to change your life. You simply have to let them act through you. And then every day a change happens. Every day something special happens. When you're in tune with them, everything works. When you think to guide that you're driving the car of your life, obstacles start to come. When Jesus said, "Let thy will be done," it is very true. When you let Swami or Yogananda or our masters, when you give them the responsibility for your life, everything works. Another very dear episode to me happened a few years after I met Swami. And I felt his friendship very deeply. And one day, as Kirtani said, we went for tea. He showed us his back and it was all black. And I said, "Wow, Swami, what happened?" He said, I don't know. He said, "Look, he touched his arm, and where he put his finger, a black stain came after a minute." At this point we said, "Swami, something is obviously wrong. Let's call your cardiologist and see if there might not be some serious problem." So we called the heart doctor and he said he probably took too much medicine. He probably took the anticoagulants for the blood to become more fluid. He probably took too much. You have to immediately go to the hospital because this is very dangerous. It's his life could be in danger. So we go to the car, we leave, we arrive in the hospital. And on the road, Swamiji says, "I don't think I'll have to die from this in this moment. What do you think?" I said, "No, Swami, absolutely not. Let's not even talk about it. It's not your moment to go." And he, with a big smile, responds, whatever Divine Mother wants, I'm always ready to accept. And so we arrive in the hospital, and the doctors immediately start to take his blood and to just check, and his blood was ultra fluid. There was something. Probably he took too much, or either the wrong medicine or too much medicine. They told him, look, you have to be here for 1 or 2 days because we have to take your blood continuously and try to stabilize. So we'll give you the medicine, but maybe then it goes too much in the other direction. So then we have to restabilize it. So it'll take time before we manage to adjust to the right level. Because Swami also had a valve, one of the heart valves that was substituted. They said, there's one problem though, we don't have any beds. So what do? All these exams in the corridor, you can't really say. I'm sorry, but we're all full. And I asked, but is it not possible to have maybe the portable bed, or, at least to find a place where he can sleep? They said, well, we can't have those in the corridor. But he said, but there's a little pantry where there's a lot of tools, and there's a lot of these also movable beds. Well, you can rest there. And of course, you can imagine that for Swami, a closet full of medical equipment and the beds. It's like, well, if it's the only place we can have, it's like, let's go. We can go and rest there. So we went there, and Swami was on this very kind of very thin, not very wide bed, and he was resting, and I was sitting on the other side in case he turns. I can catch him so he doesn't fall down, because it was very narrow, this bed. And so he starts to rest, and every half an hour, 40 minutes, someone would come and they would take his blood and they would give him the medicine to stabilize again the fluidity of the blood. 1 hour passes, 2 hours pass, and the doctor says, look, for 3-4 hours we'll let him rest. We'll wait until the medicine starts to take effect. So we start to rest, and Swami rests, and I'm there just sitting very calmly, and at a certain point I feel someone touching my arm and also the shoulder. I said, what's happening? I wake up, I open my eyes, I realized I had fallen asleep on the bed, and Swami was sitting on his little bed, and he was holding me so I wouldn't fall down. And he said, I didn't want you to fall down. And I was mortified. I said, Swami, oh my goodness, I had to be awake to keep you safe, and you had to sleep and rest. And he looks into my eyes with an incredible sweetness that you can't really describe with words. And he says, God is serving God. Something beautiful. Something very profound. And I couldn't say anything anymore. And Swami finished this small conversation with a beautiful smile and with this deep gaze that says everything. It was a special moment, a blessed moment. And the morning came and they found the bed, and after a few days we were out. But it was a special moment to be able to serve. To be able to serve this great soul. But at a certain point when I think, it was he who was helping me. It was not me that I was helping him, because he helped me to realize how important it is to give. And he always gave, he never held back. Even in the most difficult moments, if you could help or give to someone, he would do it. It wasn't important how heavy it was on his physical body. He came into this world to give. And he did it to his last breath. That day that he left the body, it was Sunday, 21st of April, 2013. When he came here to the temple, for some days everyone came and then his body left. And after Swami left, I met his gardener, whose name was Aldo. And his gardener was a person who was completely in love with Swami. He didn't call him Swami because he didn't know how to pronounce it. He was a very simple man, and he called him the writer. And they met in '96 actually, when Swami moved to his house here, and he wanted to have a garden. When he started to do the garden, this Mr. Aldo, this man, who was already maybe 77, 78 years old already, he helped him. He listened to what Swami wanted, and he helped to create this garden. And he was one of the only people that Swami would hug. And in the last years, he would only pranam to people, he wouldn't hug. But when Aldo would come at 7 a.m. to cut the grass, Swami, even in his bathrobe, he would go out, even without his shoes on. He would go into the garden and he would hug Aldo. And they would just talk. Aldo didn't really speak Italian well. He spoke this Assisi dialect. But there was a relationship of great love. And when I met him, he said, he told me on Sunday, 21st of April, I woke up at 5 a.m. with this fixed idea in my mind. I had to go to plant flowers for the writer. So at 6, he was outside of Swami's bedroom, where there's a window, and he was planting flowers outside of his window. And he planted them, and he planted all of them. When he put the last vase when he finished with the last vase, it was about 7:40, and he saw people coming. And he understood that something was happening. He understood that in the house, the writer, there was something wrong with him. And out of respect, not to get involved, not to disturb, he went into his car and he went back home. When he told me these things, I told him, the writer is not here anymore. He's flown into heaven. And he knew, in that moment, he perceived that Sunday he felt that his friend, the writer, was gone. And the words he told me was, I lost a great friend. And I told him, the writer, when you think of him, he is still here with you. And his answer was, I know, but I miss him. I miss his smile, his eyes, and the way he would greet him. From the way he would greet me, I know he was a special man. Swami is a special man. He treated all of us as great friends. Each one of us he treated in our own way as a great friend, and he included us in his life. And today, on this 7th anniversary of his freedom, of his liberation, when we put ourselves in tune with him, we put ourselves in tune with Yogananda, and when we're in tune with Yogananda, we're in tune with God. Because Swami and our masters want only one thing, our freedom in God and for eternity. This is what Swami wants for each one of us. May Swami and our masters bless you. Now we'll listen to other testimonies, but from friends, also from different parts of Italy and Europe. And we'll listen to them. We asked them to record their memories of Swami, and they did it. And they let us have it, and now we'll listen to this.
Dear Swamiji, this is Maya Devi. I feel so greatly blessed and grateful that you had come into our lives in 1979. In the beginning, you came as a wonderful dear friend who visited us and stayed with us, and only with the decades in our own spiritual growth were we able to
aiutato nella nostra
what an enormous blessing we were receiving through your presence in our lives. You never showed your spiritual greatness. We sometimes heard other great teachers praise you as a very great soul, and that Ananda devotees should be grateful to have you as our teacher. But then we were not yet able to perceive your vastness. I thank you for being our dear friend and for having guided us with your great wisdom. And as our teacher of Master's teachings. Thank you for how you changed our lives and for your continued presence. It is an honor for me to be serving this way with you or you through me. Even though your body isn't here anymore, your light keeps shining strongly. Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you, dearest and beloved Swamiji. This is Mila from Russia. And thank you very much for your brilliant example for us, example of unconditional love, acceptance, and kindness. And you are my polestar. And I hope to follow and to become the example similar as you of unconditional love, acceptance, and kindness. I will do my best, Swamiji, to be like you, and I hope that we are connected forever and ever, and you will guide me in my effort. Om Swamiji, Om Swamiji, Om.
Dear Swamiji, this is Arjuna. Thank you for helping us build our inner temple of light. And thank you for filling it with your books of wisdom, your thoughts of devotion, your thoughts of gratitude, which help us share this wisdom with all truth seekers. Thank you most of all for your laughter. When you've laughed, I always laughed with you because it came from the heart, and it was the joy bubbling up from your soul. Help us to keep the doors of our inner temple open so that we can share these gifts with all. Om.
Dear Swamiji, thank you for creating Ananda communities, the place where I learn how to be positive, energetic, enthusiastic, and the place where I learned how to love God. Thank you so much, Swamiji. Love you. Gordana from Croatia.
Dear Swamiji, this is Helmut. Thank you so much for having come into my life 41 years ago, at a time where inspiration, light, hope, and guidance were much needed. You came as an answer to a desperate prayer request. Thank you for your friendship and for the precious days we were able to be together in our house in Germany. You gave us so much then and kept giving us much more in the years in the village and then in Assisi. Thank you for sharing Yogananda's love, his teachings, and his light with us. May we be one in that light someday. Thank you, Swami.
Hello, Swami, this is Mahia. I feel grateful to you for everything, obviously, but specifically I'm feeling more and more realization of my immense gratitude for the people that you trained, for those who lived with you and learned from you and developed all of your characteristics, working with others, leadership, devotion to God, deep attunement. And now these are the people that are our living examples, guiding us. We talk about your legacy often, and now I realize that the people that you have trained and you have given to us to train us, they are one of the greatest aspects of your legacy. So thank you, Swami, for Jyotish, Devi, Kitani, Anand, Asha, Uma, Shivani, Arjuna, and so many others. I am so grateful for their presence in my life. Jai Guru.
Dear Swamiji, this is Mukti.
And this is Narayan.
From Belgrade, Serbia.
I would like to thank you for being our divine friend and inspiration, for giving us such a big spiritual family, and above all, for helping us understand who Master really was and for making him so real and so alive for all of us.
And I would like to thank you for showing me how to meet life with courage and trust, and for the joy and blessings that I found in serving Master's work. Jai Guru, Jai Swamiji.
Carissimo Swamiji,
this is Clarita. All the gratitude of my heart goes to thee. Before I met you, I always was sorry that I wasn't born before, that I didn't meet Yogananda Ji, my beloved Guru. But I met him, I knew him through you, through your eyes that were an open window on the consciousness of Master, on the consciousness of God. Thank you, Swamiji, forever. Thank you, Swamiji, from Massimo and Manuela from La Spezia. Thank you for the beautiful community you created, a true and real source that restores body, mind and soul. Thank you, Swamiji, for those small, brief moments in which you gave us personally some precious gems of your wisdom. They changed our lives deeply, and we are trying to share them with others with all our strength. Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you eternally.
Caro Swamiji,
Dear Swamiji, I thank you for the kindness, for the consideration, for the unexpected attentions that I received from you in many different difficult moments of my life. I remember your unexpected phone call in the hospital when the mobile phone still didn't exist, when you asked about my health. Thank you, Swamiji, for those unexpected touch during a Kriya ceremony where you helped me to feel your presence, your closeness in a difficult moment in my life. And again, my heart is filled with and moved where because of the last lunch before you left your body and the brief but intense conversations we had in that moment. But above all, thank you, Swamiji, for having given me, through this community that you founded, the possibility to know and to deepen Master's teachings. Thank you, Swamiji. Dear Swamiji, this is Triveni. I would like to thank you, above all, for your friendship and for all those happy moments that we shared together, in which, through your eyes, through your smiles, through your words, deep teachings arrived directly into my heart. Swamiji, thank you for this beautiful feel of friendship and ancient alliance, ancient friendship that I felt since the very beginning. Thank you, Swamiji, for all those times where you guided me, where you counseled me, and when you answered my questions with your precious gifts. Thank you, Swamiji, for always being there. This morning, we thought about Swamiji, and he's always in our heart. He's the light of our life. And Dominic and I stopped to reflect about him and on how much he left us, how much he gave us, the beautiful, the great, the marvelous. He is a light in our life. And Maurice considers him like his grandfather. And forgive me, I'm always moved when I think of him. And I hope that he is happy. I want to think of him blissful in a world much more beautiful, much more great than this, our little world. Thank you. Dear friend Swamiji Shantima, I want to thank you for the great gift that you've been in my life. Thank you for the gift of your presence. Because in front of you I couldn't do anything else than just be moved deeply in my heart and feeling your love just arrive directly into me, both for me and for all those who were close. Thank you for your beautiful laughter that arrived directly into the heart, and he would lift sadness up. The image I have of you, I hold of you, is really this face just smiling, always ready to joke and to smile, this lightness to take life in this very light way. Thank you, Swamiji, again. Thank you. I love you. Dear Swami, thank you so much that you demonstrated to me the gate, the way, the road toward God, toward love, toward serenity. Thank you. Thank you infinitely from Emil.
Beloved Swamiji, this is Mira. I wanted to thank you in this special day
because you brought me to your Guru, that then became mine, Paramahansa Yogananda. I offer you my blessings, my unconditional love, because you've been an example of simplicity, of love, of humility, and you managed to enter into my heart. And even now, when you're not here anymore, you're still close. You're close to all of us. I feel your presence, your precious presence, and I feel you surrounding me, and you encourage me to go forward. I hear you tell me, you can do it. You're a living example, even now that you're not here anymore. Dear Swamiji, this is Rijumati. I feel for you in my heart a deep love for a daughter, because for me you have been and you will always be a spiritual father. Your inspiring music, your sweet voice, your books, your works, and above all your example, they follow me, have been following me for many years, and they are a continuous source of inspiration and of strength, ever new strength. Your love, your loyalty to Yogananda move me deeply, and they stimulate me to want to be also like you, a good disciple. From my heart, my eternal and deep gratitude. Thank you. Dear Swamiji, this is Medavati. Dear divine friend, I am deeply grateful for your presence in my life. Through you, I understood the depth of Master's teachings. With the example, you helped me to understand the relationship with Guru and disciple and the deep bond that you put inside of it. Thank you for all of that you've written, leaving us a guideline for our spiritual growth, for the music you composed, a key to know you, for every word, every smile, every laughter, for your joy, unforgettable joy. Thank you for continuing to take care of us with love, smiling, encouraging us, smiling, and supporting us in our hearts in divine friendship. Swamiji, this is Dhruva. Thank you for the friendship you have given us and for all the expansion that is always with us every time we think of you and that we attune ourselves with you. I would like to thank you. I want to thank you playing one of your pieces. The Master said, only love can take my place after I'm gone. And through Swami, we could feel Master's love. There's a special book that Swami has written, and it's a book written in our hearts, and the title is Thank You, Swamiji. And it's a gathering of everything that he taught us, all of the memories, all of the reflections, all of the joys that he transmitted, that communicated. His life is a blessing for us because he brought us closer to God deeply. And we want to take a moment now to remember all of those moments, all those touches of light that he gave us. And we want to offer him a flower of our gratitude. Yes, he was both to the earthly friend, but especially to that divine expression that came to earth. And that through the joy that we were able to perceive, that we wanted to find God even more ardently, we will do this offering, listening to a chant by Master that says, I may go far, farther than the stars, but I will be thine always. Devotees may come, devotees may go, but I will be thine always. When I die, look into mine eyes. Mutely they will say, I will be thine always.
My Lord, I will be thine always. My Lord, I will be thine always. I may go far, farther than the stars. I may go far, farther than the stars. But I will be thine always. My Lord, I will be thine always. Devotees may come, devotees may go. Devotees may come, devotees may go. But I will be thine always. My Lord, I will be thine always. When I die, look into mine eyes. When I die, look into mine eyes. They will mutely say, I will be thine always. My Lord, I will be thine always. I may go far, farther than the stars. I may go far, farther than the stars. But I will be thine always. My Lord, I will be thine always. Devotees may come, devotees may Devotees may come, devotees may go, but I will be thine always, my Lord, I will be thine always. When I die, look into mine eyes. When I die, look into mine eyes. They will mutely say, I will be thine always, my Lord.
Swamiji, you touch our hearts deeply, and you change our lives deeply. Make us also able to bring Master's love and shine with it into this world. Make us able to carry this joyful message that is expressed in a song that you created, that I would like to read. There's joy in the heavens, a smile on the mountains, and melody sings everywhere. The flowers are all laughing to welcome the morning. Your soul is as free as the air. Leave home in the sunshine, dance through a meadow, or sit by a stream and just be. The lilt of the water will gather your worries and carry them down to the sea. Men hunger for freedom, but don't see their dungeon is only the thought that they are bound. Desires are their shackles, the hope that tomorrow the doorway to joy will be found. There's joy all around us. Why wait till tomorrow? We've only this moment to live. A heaven within us is ours for the finding, a freedom no riches can give. And now chanting Om, we want to perceive that Swami and Master are blessing all of us, all humanity, with this message of joy and of love. I would like to invite you to stand, to sing and to listen to this song, Thy Light with Their Shining. When Swami was present, whenever the choir would sing, he would always stand, because this is really the song where he is now and we want to be with him. Thy light within us shining.
Il cuore senza
Divine Mother, may thy love shine forever on the sanctuary of my devotion, and may I be able to bring your love to all my brothers. Om. Peace. Amen.